Good afternoon and good evening. My name is Chris Drummond. I'm the Public Relations Coordinator for Pinellas County Utilities. I'm going to be facilitating our conversation this evening on behalf of myself, our director, our leadership team, panelists, and the quite literally hundreds of men and women who work day in and day out to provide our water services. We do want to say welcome. Welcome and thank you for taking an interest in this topic, and thank you for joining us this evening. The next hour is going to be dedicated to addressing any questions, comments, and concerns you may have regarding our service line inventory program. We do want you to remember that this is about you. The next 60 minutes is about helping you become a more informed customer. It's about making you feel better about the quality of your drinking water. And ultimately, it's about improving your confidence in the organizations and the systems that make our daily lives possible. The seven heads you see at the top of the screen right now represent our panelists. For this event, we brought together a cross-section of individuals from the water service community. These 7 individuals represent quite literally decades of experience and subject matter expertise in the water system design, maintenance, and water quality communities. With us, we have Mr. Jeremy Waugh. He is the Utilities Director for Pinellas County. We have Ms. Nori Hancock. She is our Deputy Director for Utilities. We have Mr. Matt Wadewick. He is our Water Quality Division Director. Ms. Michelle Duggan. She is our Water Quality Manager. Becky Cook is a Senior Engineer with Pinellas County Utilities, and she is the Project Manager for our service line inventory. And we're being supported tonight by the Pinellas County Government Communications Department with Ms. Sydney Kreitzer. So we do have a brief presentation. We're going to run through this fairly quickly. It's really meant to serve as an introduction to drinking water delivery. We're going to talk a little about some basic terminology and go over some of the materials that are currently in use. And we're going to talk just briefly about the service line inventory program. The bulk of tonight's time is really going to be left for question and answer related to this material. So drinking water delivery. As you can imagine, Pinellas County Utilities services customers from the Pasco, Pinellas County line all the way down to Fort DeSoto. So treatment and delivery involves a very complex network of holding tanks and valves, pipes, pump stations that all work together to ensure that drinking water arrives at homes and businesses for use. Once it leaves the treatment portion of the process, that drinking water moves throughout the county in large pressurized pipes called water mains. Just as a side note or a fun fact, if you will, a single water main may provide water to hundreds to thousands or even tens of thousands of individuals. Your home or business is connected to those water mains through smaller pipes called service lines. And these service lines can be separated into 2 unique and distinct sections. First, there's the service line that connects the water main to your water meter, and that is a public asset that's maintained by Pinellas County Utilities. The second portion of it connects your water meter to your home or business, and that is incumbent on the owner of that property to maintain. We wanted to give you just a quick primer on pipe materials. So as we use terminology throughout the course of the question and answer period, we wanted you to understand what it was we were referencing. So here in Pinellas County Utilities, we use 3 primary materials. We use polyvinyl chloride, PVC. We use high density polyethylene, and we use ductile iron. These pipes, pipes made from these materials come in a variety of sizes and shapes and colors depending on their use. They've been a water industry standard for decades. And again, years of diligent monitoring and water quality sampling have found them to have no effect on water quality or consumer health. Now we can really get into the reason we're here tonight, the lead and copper rule revision. So before we get into the service line inventory program, we want to discuss briefly what led the decision to create this program. The lead and copper rule revision is a piece of federal regulation. It's meant to address lead and copper pipes being used in our water system. What we do want you to understand is Pinellas County Utilities has been monitoring for lead in our water supply since the early 80s. So before this was ever a piece of legislation, before this came down as a must, we chose to do it as an elective. But again, we've been doing it for, we're in our, fifth decade now. So we've been doing it since the 1980s, and we've complied with all federal and state regulations. The EPA usually revisits this piece of legislation every couple of years, with the most recent revision coming in 2023. They do this just to increase public safety and awareness of potential service lines containing lead. The most recent revision included the following requirements. They required that utility providers locate and inventory all water service lines, that they achieve a 100% replacement of all service lines found to contain lead within 10 years. We improved tap sampling of drinking water. The latest revision of the lead and copper rule lowered the lead action level. So this is the amount of lead that's permitted to be in drinking water and still deemed safe for consumption. And strengthen the protections to reduce exposure to lead. Again, I do want to really drive home the point that the drinking water here in Pinellas County already meets and or exceeds all state and federal standards for drinking water. We adhere rigorously to EPA guidelines, and we are really dedicated to ensuring that you have the highest quality product when you turn on your taps. Our service line inventory program. So Pinellas County is completing an inventory of all of our water service lines. This, once complete, will be continuously updated. And as we inspect lines across the county as part of our digital meter project through 2026, this online interactive inventory includes both the sections of the water service line owned by Pinellas County and the sections owned by property owners. Program locations. So currently, Pinellas County Utilities is evaluating service lines in unincorporated Pinellas County, the city of Bel Air Bluff, Largo, Seminole, Kenneth City. All of our barrier island municipalities are customers of ours. We service residents from Bel Air Shore down to Fort DeSoto. We did want to make it clear that if you only receive sewer or reclaimed water service from Pinellas County Utilities, that a similar inventory will be conducted, but it'll be done by the drinking water municipality who provides your water. Our inventory process, so we want to make sure that we're transparent through this entire process. And in doing so, we want to tell you a little bit about how we gather this information and what's done with it. Service line info is gathered one of two ways. So as mentioned earlier, service lines are physically inspected as we're going out and our crews are replacing meters. So far, we have a little over 39,000 new meters installed. And with that comes 39,000 service lines inspected. Customers can also evaluate their own service lines and self-report using our survey tool. That survey tool we will touch on a few slides from now. But again, it's a partnership. After service lines are inspected, the material is recorded and added to our public database. That database is updated as home improvements occur, renovations, new construction takes place. And that information is ultimately used to prioritize replacement efforts effectively. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a partnership. Now, with any partnership, there is an opportunity for you as a consumer and you as a customer to participate. you're an essential part of the inventory process. So on your screen, you're going to see a photo of the 4 most common types of service lines that you may find in the ground as a customer, or as a utility customer. I can't say here in Pinellas County because we haven't yet to find any actual lead service lines, but using the description and using the photographs that we've provided, customers can evaluate their own service lines. And when they do so, they can use the survey tool on our hub website and again, self-report the material that they find. Status letters. Every Pinellas County Utilities drinking water customer will receive a letter in the coming weeks to notify you of the inspection status of your line. As I mentioned earlier, as of today, we have found no lead service lines in our system, and you can always check the status of your service line in your utilities customer portal at myaccount.pinellas.gov. So I understand I might have ran through that fairly quickly, but as I mentioned earlier, we really did want to make this about you and give participants, give customers, give stakeholders the option or the opportunity to ask questions and have those questions answered. So at this point, we're going to transition into our question and answer session. I'm going to turn things over to Sydney Kreitzer, who will handle the question and answer period. Sydney?
Yes, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to do a brief walkthrough of how you can ask some questions. So if you are using your computer or a phone on the Zoom app, what I'm going to ask you to do, if you'd like to ask a question in the chat, you will just scroll over to the bottom where you'll see Q&A, and you can always just pop a question in the chat. Alternatively, what you can do once you pop in that question and hit send is you can raise your hand to speak. So what we will do here is if you've called on a phone number, you can hit *9 and it will raise your hand in this app. And if you're on your computer, right to the left of that Q&A button, you will actually see a button that says raise hand and lower hand. If you'd like to speak and ask a question, you can go ahead and start raising your hands now, and we'll keep an eye on it. And I'll at that time, I'll call on you and let you know that we are going to unmute you. Okay. So we do have one person who has already raised their hand. Tanya, I am going to unmute you now if you'd like to ask your question. Just going to finish out these, even though I think you guys know what to do. So Tanya, here you go.
Okay, thank you. My question is how, and I'm asking this as a serious question. I'm from New York. Water is definitely different. And I've never acclimated to I don't drink the water here. But how safe is the water to drink? Actually, how safe? And do they add any fluoride to the water?
I can take that one.
Thanks,
thank you for that question. Water here is safe. We put out a consumer confidence report annually that gives the results of the ongoing testing that we conduct on our drinking water system. And we always hit the marks. We really have never had an issue with not meeting safe drinking water standards set out by EPA. As far as fluoride, yes, the county does add fluoride to its water.
Okay.
Thank you,
Tanya. Okay. Right now, we do not have any other questions in the chat or anyone with their hand raised. Is there someone else who would like to ask a question? Tanya, I see that your hand is up, and I'm not too sure if it's up again for another question, but I will unmute you now.
Okay, yes. I've always questioned, does Pinellas County recycle the water? Does that make sense? Is it recycled water? Is it fresh water? Where is it coming from?
I'll answer that.
Where's the source coming from?
Yes, ma'am. We receive our water from Tampa Bay Water. Tampa Bay Water is our regional supplier. for the Tampa Bay area, Hillsborough, Pinellas County, Pasco County, Port Ritchie. So that they give us the water. They have a combination of surface water from a regional surface water plant, and then we receive groundwater. So in the sense what you're asking, do we reuse water? Or are you talking about reclaimed water? Is that
From any source whatsoever?
Just surface water and groundwater, man?
Both.
Yes.
I just have the suspicion because I was told years ago that the water was recycled. So whatever water source that we are using, is it recycled? Has it been used before? Has it gone through any type of
just surface water and groundwater is the only water that we send to our distribution system for drinking.
Okay.
That's what I would say. I'll add that's drinking water comes from Tampa Bay Water, our provider, and it's groundwater, a blend of surface water, groundwater, and others. So desal maybe a little bit, but so it's not recycled as you're thinking, I don't think.
Okay. Is it quite possible in the future they'll add minerals to the water as well for taste?
There are no current plans to add minerals to the water for taste. I wouldn't say that it's off the table. It's not in any of our current plans.
Okay, might be something to look into. The water in New York, we don't need to buy water because it's good. It's ice cold, it's fluoride, and they add minerals to it. And coming down here, you have to buy bottled water. I just have not acclimated. I can't. My taste buds, I just can't accept it. So I thought about if you add minerals to it, that would help with the taste factor. But maybe that would be something that they would want to look at.
Sure.
Thanks, Tanya. We appreciate that comment as well. We do actually have some more people who have raised their hands, so we're going to move on. But as always, Tanya, if you've got another question, feel free to raise your hand again.
Thank you.
Okay, Darlene, we have you up next, so I'm going to unmute you now.
Good evening. Thanks for holding this. Just a quick question. I wasn't sure if this webinar was mainly for drinking water. If there are any concerns about reclaimed water, like for irrigation, how do owners deal with reclaimed water concerns, like their water doesn't shut off or it just keeps running? How would they address that?
Hi, Jeremy. I would start by calling our customer service line. It's 727-464-4000. And I don't know the specific issue, but we do offer reclaimed water for irrigation to, I think, 18,000 residents use it. And many of our golf courses also use reclaimed water for irrigation. So if there's water just continually running, call us and let us look at that. Make sure the problem is on your side or our side. We can help diagnose that for you. And you will be, in the coming months, starting to be billed for consumption of reclaim. So if you have a continually running source, there's going to be a bill associated with that. So let's get that fixed for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darlene. Okay, do we have any other questions? If you'd like to raise your hand, you can continue to do that now, or you can drop your question in the chat. Okay. Well, what I think we can do is, since we don't have any other questions, is we, as like the hosts and the panelists, can stay on for an additional 5 minutes and answer any questions that might come up. But I think for now, we can go ahead and conclude this since we don't have any additional questions. Actually, look at that. I spoke a little too soon. We do have one person who has raised their hand, so I'm going to unmute you now. Okay, you can go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I posted my question on the Q&A using the app, the phone app. So I'll go ahead and ask it now. The question I have is about the status of the water pipes for each homestead. You said that you replaced a lot of water meters to digital meters, about 39,000. And at that time, you also completed your inspections. My question is that my meter was replaced months ago, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, to a digital one. And then when I go to the portal that you mentioned to check the status of my water pipe, it says unknown. How do I find out what the pipes do I use? Because I don't know how to do the inspection myself. I mean, I can follow probably the instructions in your portal, but I thought you guys said you updated the type of the pipe for each homestead at the same time you do the meter replacement.
So I'll help answer that. Thank you. It's a good question. There's a lag between when we install the meter to when the database gets updated, just because the records. So we're doing visual inspections. We actually have dug 39,000 holes in the ground, and we have another 60 or so thousand to go. And that process, just getting the records into the portal. So as soon as we digitize the records, so we take the field notes from the contractor, we then verify them. And then we update the database, and that's when the portal gets updated. If you know that your meter was replaced several months ago, that data should be in there by now. I would say there's probably a 30-day delay. So if it's not been 30 days, sit tight and check back in a month. But if it's been more than 30 days, I'm going to ask you to please call our customer service line, and one of our customer service representatives will walk through that with you and verify that you did have a new meter, and that we should have done the inspection when we installed the new meter, and then we'll dig into what happened to your specific case.
Got it. Understood. And can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Yeah. What is Pinellas County's, what is it, utilities? Your name? Yeah, PCU. Yeah. What is your opinion on the use of fluoride? Is it beneficial, the use of fluoride in our water? Because I don't know, there's different opinions out there, so I'm trying to, get the expert opinion.
Well,
are we using fluoride? Are you guys using fluoride in our water?
There is fluoride in our water currently. It's a policy decision made by our county leaders. I don't have a medical opinion on the use of fluoride or not. I'll let medical personnel and experts talk about that. And then, as you mentioned, there's lots of debate about that currently. So I don't have a good opinion to share.
Okay. Is there a way we can get one, like PCU, I don't know, from the HHS, I don't know, get the experts to put that information out there so the people...
Yeah, it wouldn't come from us. We would go through the county health department and get their medical expertise.
Yeah. Okay. So is that being done, or is that something that it's going to happen?
It is not being done currently. It has been done in the past several times. And the policy decision was made to include fluoride in our water system.
Okay. Got it.
And the early 2010s, I think, if I have my dates correctly, we removed the fluoride and then we brought it back. So it was a policy decision made by county leaders based on the public's interest.
Okay, so it's based on the public interest or based on the science?
The public elected the leaders that voted to put in the fluoride.
Okay, so there's no data-based facts. It's just people want it.
Again, I'm not gonna. I don't have a comment on the medical benefits or detriments to fluoride in the water.
Okay, I wish that you guys provided that so we know better. Okay, thank you.
It's a good question and it's a hot topic. I probably don't have a better answer for you than that.
I know, and it's only going to get worse. So I'm just wondering. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Melanie Woods, I'm going to unmute you now. Actually, it looks like you may no longer be raising your hand. So I am actually going to go, never mind, you're back up. So here we go, Melanie. Melanie, if you'd like to unmute, you can. Okay. Melanie, I'm not sure if you're having some sound issues, but we can come back to you momentarily. I'm actually going to move on to Duncan, if you would like to speak.
Yes, thank you. I understand that Pinellas County is inventorying your own lines up until the demarcation point to the residences. I'm a director of a mobile home park of 250 homes in the county, and most of those homes then are serviced by our own service lines. Is the county providing any assistance to us to do an inventory on our own service lines to see if we maybe have any galvanized pipes left? I'm positive we don't have any lead, but I'm suspicious that we may still have some galvanized service lines in use.
Currently, there is no, let me start that over. We're doing the inventory at the meter. So when we're going and installing the new meters, we're checking the service line inventory on either side of the meter. So the public side of the water service and the private side of the water service at the meter location. We are not going past that into the private property, either at a single family house or into, in your case, a mobile home community. So if you have, let's say, a master meter at the front of your community and everything behind that is private, we are not performing inventories on the private line systems. We do not currently have a program for assisting with private line inventories. Now, certainly we could assist with helping you identify what the pipe is, if you have a picture, or what to look for, or best use cases, or even guidance on ways to perform the inventory. And certainly once you got your inventory together, if you provided it to us, we could include that in the portal. But we are not going onto private property and digging up private water lines.
So, a follow up to that, if I may. I understand that, and that's what I expected. But can you suggest any resources or any person within Pinellas County Utilities contact persons for me to perhaps get advice or run things past them? We have about 40 acres of land, so I think we have a myriad of types of service lines.
Yes, I would start with our customer service line. Again, that's the 464-4000 phone number. And we can, start through that portal and they'll get you to the right resource. It'll probably be somebody in our customer services team that would help assist you to where those are. Certainly, we could give you lots of names of contractors that we use. Not suggesting that they're the best or the worst. I'm just saying they're the ones that we use. Also, any licensed plumber could probably assist you with that. We have a list of registered licensed plumbers. We can get that information to you. We also have a list of small business owners. We like to support our small businesses. So if you wanted to use a licensed plumber who is also a small business, we would certainly advocate for that too. So start with the 464-4000 number. Let them know that you're on this call and I directed you to go talk to them about that, and then they'll get you sent to the right persons.
Thank you.
Thanks, Duncan. I'm going to go to Melanie one more time to see if your sound is working. If it's not, then I recommend that you add your question in the chat. I know that we do have a couple of questions in the chat, so after that, we will move to those. Melanie, if you'd like to try to speak.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you. Sorry about that. So I have actually two questions, and then I can go on mute. And I would just like to understand how are we doing in the sewage spill off when we have a lot of rainwater and a lot of sewage? Just kind of wondering, I know that they've had a lot of problems in St. Pete specifically, and I wondered if that affects us as a county and how we're doing on that. And then also one other question, with our population growth, how are we doing on availability of clean water? And you can put me on mute. Thank you.
I can probably address both of those. First of all, from the population standpoint, so as we mentioned earlier, Pinellas County Utilities purchases our water wholesale from Tampa Bay Water. And Tampa Bay Water supplies potable water to Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, Pasco County, City of Newport Richey, City of Tampa. And so it's a regional water supplier. They do, as a regional water supplier, they control all of the water treatment plants, the surface water intakes, let's call them. The desalination plant that's over in Tampa, they control that. And they also control the various well fields that pull out the groundwater. So they do extensive population, and they call them demand studies, every year, and verify that the demand and the growing regions of Tampa Bay. So, we're focused on Pinellas County, but as you're probably aware, Hillsborough County is continuing to see tremendous growth. Pasco County is seeing tremendous growth. So they're monitoring that demand and forecasting what the supply needs to be to meet that demand for now and for future. And then we gut check that several times a year to make sure there's not any surprises coming out. And the Tampa Bay's water delivery process, they go through extensive permitting and reviews with the Southwest Water Management District, SWIFMUD, who is in control. That's the state agency who's in control of water resources in the Tampa Bay region. And they're in conjunction with them, so making sure that we're not we're not depleting our freshwater sources, and that we keep our wetlands hydrated, and we don't pull too much water out of lakes and streams and affect the fish and the turtles and the birds, et cetera. So it's a good question with the growing populations. My answer is that we have accounted for it and that we are not seeing a depletion of fresh water. For the sewer spill question, it is a continual effort for us to work on sewage spills. We have an aging system in our sewer. A lot of our sewer network was constructed in the 50s and 60s and 70s. So they're, fairly old at this point. And we were continually replacing pipes as they break or as we find them to need to be replaced. Unfortunately, the older pipes that we have allow rainwater to get into the sewage system. And that's when the sewer overflows occur. When there's too much rain, there's the sewer system, the pipes get over capacity. They just can't handle it. There's more water than the pipe can carry. And that's what causes these spills to occur. To give you a gauge, though, of how much we're working on it, we are extremely focused on resolving this problem for a lot of reasons. Just the environmental impact, but also the human health impact, red tide, all of those things. When we had the Irma storm, Hurricane Irma, several years ago, what was that, 5 or 6 years ago? Pinellas County Utilities had a very high volume, 140 million gallons or something over the course of the storm. And then in the last storm that we just had, Milton and Helene, both of those were down to 20 million gallons. So similar type storms, similar type rain events, and we've seen a dramatic decrease in the amount of sewage spilling. So we've done a lot of capital improvements at our sewer plants and to our pipe networks to try and prevent these. Certainly 20 million gallons is too much. We understand that, but we're working diligently every day to reduce that. And if you go and ever want to bore yourself, you can go look at our CIP plan and look at the projects we have coming up. And we have a tremendous amount of investment in the tune of $40-50 million a year dedicated to removing sewer spills. It's just a tremendous effort with the amount of pipes that we have and the amount of problem we have with this aging infrastructure. So hopefully that answered your question.
That's great news. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. We do have one question in the chat, so I'll read that one out now. They're wanting to know if they want to use the self-reporting tool, can someone still go back behind them and double check what they have found?
Yes. So when we install the digital meters at every single house, we will be performing an inspection. Regardless if you've self-reported or not, we will still perform an inspection for our records. And of course, if you self-reported it and we say, hey, that looked different than what we found when we were out there, then we would have a conversation with that individual homeowner.
Thanks, Jeremy. We currently do not have any other questions in the chat or anyone raising their hands. So if anyone would like to answer or ask another question, if you want to just go ahead and raise your hand now or drop that in the chat. Okay, so what we can do now, and jumped it a little bit earlier, but we can stay on for another 5 minutes. And if anyone does have a question, feel free to ask it within that time. And if not, then we just want to thank you all for attending. And as Jeremy mentioned earlier, we do have a dedicated customer service line. You can access that by calling 727-464-4000. Or you can always visit pinellas.gov/utilities, and we've got a live chat button there that works directly through our customer service portal. You can also go to myaccount.pinellas.gov and work directly through your customer portal. If you want to get some more information on this specific program, you can visit pinellas.gov/utilities service line inventory. And we'll have a lot of the information that we shared tonight, but we will also be sharing a recording of this webinar there. So if you have any friends or family that are also customers that would benefit from hearing some of this, we absolutely encourage you to share that with them so that they can be informed as they start receiving some of their notification letters as well. So I will actually allow any of our other panelists to speak if you'd like to have any kind of closing statements.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you to everyone who took time out of their evening to visit with us. It was mentioned earlier in the presentation, but I'm just going to reiterate, we will be sending a letter to every single resident. Probably will show up next week. And if it'll tell you the status of your individual line that we found through inspection. And there'll be a couple letters. So if we found a galvanized pipe or a copper pipe, we would tell you that. We would also tell you if we have not performed an inspection at your resident yet. So you'll get a letter that says, we don't know what your pipe material is because we haven't inspected it yet. Like I mentioned, we have about 60,000 more to go. So it's a lot of work. But when we do perform an inspection at your location, you will receive another letter indicating what we found. You know, we found plastic, or we found copper, or we found galvanized. To date, we've not found any lead, and we don't think that we have a lot of lead out there. So I just wanted to reiterate that you will get a letter from us in the mail, probably in the next several days. And it'll tell you specifically what type of material we found, or if we haven't gotten to your location yet. And it'll probably be some directions on how to access the portal in that letter too, so that you don't have to write all this down and remember it all. Thank you for joining us.
Yep. It actually looks like most people have gone ahead and jumped off, so we will formally end this. But if there is anyone still on, we just wanted to say thank you again. So have a good night, everyone.